Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wine.com Experiences. I'm Gwendolyn Osborne. So excited that you can join us today as we are tasting wines from The Calling. And we will be talking to legendary sports broadcasting icon Jim Nantz, as well as winemaker James McPhail and vineyard owner Tracy Dutton. If you have purchased these wines ahead of time from Wine.com, fantastic. Please go ahead, get those open and get them into some glassware. If you don't have the wines, that's okay. We still have them available on Wine.com. They're really good. And you can always revisit this video and taste along on our YouTube channel for Wine.com. The two wines that we are tasting today are The Calling Dutton Ranch Chardonnay and The Calling Russian River Valley Pinot Noir. So let's go ahead and introduce our guests. We have, like I said, legendary sports broadcaster and storyteller, Jim Nantz. Jim, we're so grateful that you have been able to join us today and are thrilled that you're here. So welcome.
Well, thank you for that, Gwendolyn. Hello, friends. It's great to be with, it's wonderful to be with everyone. Thank you, Gwendolyn. I'm excited about this. Let's sit back and have some fun here for a while.
Absolutely. So let's bring in the rest of the team. We have acclaimed winemaker James McPhail and vineyard owner of an amazing ranch, Tracy Dutton. James and Tracy, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I was telling Tracy, I was like, that looks so much like a virtual background, but yeah, no, that's where you are. That's just where you live. That's pretty stunning. So super excited to have you all. Glad you're here. So for those of you at home, we are going to kind of dive into the story behind the wine. So if you feel like tasting a little bit before then, please go ahead and start sipping on any wines while we go through that. Jim, and I do want to start with you, start from the beginning. Maybe tell us a little bit about that chance meeting with Peter Deutsch and how that all led to creating this wine label.
Well, it's been a blur. First off, I can't believe how fast we've gotten to this point now. We're already into like our 9th vintage, and we really began a joint venture together 10 years ago. So I kind of feel like it's a 10-year-old company / brand. But Peter Deutsch, all the good you guys even have. We call this B-roll in the television business. And there we are at my favorite place on the planet, Dutton Ranch. We love the Duttons. So Tracy, thanks to you and your family, to Joe and to Steve, what you've meant to our brand. It's almost impossible to quantify. But I just had this crazy idea. I'm a guy that has a lot of ideas, and I usually, give it my all to execute these ideas. And I had been thinking and searching since 2003 about masquerading that one day I was going to get involved in the wine business, being around the PGA Tour on about 20-week-a-year basis. I knew a lot of golfers who were involved in their own wine brands. And I'll put this politely, not to disparage anyone at all, but I knew what the effort level probably looked like as far as their wine brand, the time they spent to it, or maybe better even put what their effort wasn't looking like, and maybe how they viewed it as a chance to enhance whatever their overall brand. I had no interest in any of that. I wasn't trying to create a brand image or any kind of personal gain. I wanted to create something great. I'm around people that achieve, whether it's football, the NFL, or basketball, or golf, people that stand for excellence. And I really live about 40 weeks, maybe some years 45 weeks a year on the road, visiting the best cities, the best restaurants. I'm a big wine guy, always have been. And I saw that, people that I knew got involved. And I just didn't, I didn't want to lose the opportunity to one day explore that as possibly something I could do, knowing the effort level that I would put into it. So, again, I made calls to vintners and vineyards all around California for a number of years. And I was finally getting ready to kind of pull the trigger on this concept and find someone that would source for me and put a team together, when I had this chance meeting at a restaurant in Greenwich, Connecticut. And Peter Deutsch came over to my table. At that time, Peter and his father were being featured in Wine Spectator magazine that very month. And he came over having just read a book that I'd written about my father. And, once he mentioned that he was in the wine business and I knew the name sounded familiar, I happened to mention that the next day I was going in to meet a very prominent figure in New York who was involved in the wine business. Oh, yeah? He said, who's that? And I mentioned Marvin Shanken. And he said, well, Marvin's like a really close friend of the family. What are you going in there for? And I said, I'm going in to talk and discuss about possibly one day creating a brand of my own. He said, and by the end of the night, he said, here's my card. I'd like to talk to you about this some more if you're interested. And let me know how your talk goes with Marvin. So some time passed. I was intrigued. Peter was instantly likable. I did my vetting and research, and I knew that the integrity and reputation that Peter and his family, his father had was second to none. So I called him and we had another chance to get together more formally, went out to dinner and discussed an idea. Initially, I wanted Peter to kind of help me create this brand, as the Deutsch family has done so successfully a number of times. It didn't take long before I realized that, you know what, it would be more fun if we did this together as a partnership. So in 2010 going into 2011, we created the Deutsch Nantz Alliance. And we started from ground zero. How are we going to create? Because listen, I don't want to just have a run-of-the-mill wine brand. This is not an ego trip. I don't need any publicity, any attention. I'm on national TV every week. I don't need any attention there. That's not why I'm in the business. But for wine, I want to get involved if we have a chance to win. I wanted to create, with Peter's mantra the same, the next great American premium wine brand. We decided we were going to find our slot in the luxury market, maybe lower luxury, low lux. And then we set course on, okay, what's our game plan? Where do we want to go? Where do we want to source? And we set our sights on Sonoma. You're going to go to Sonoma. You're going to go to Russian River Valley. Where are you going to go? And you know where we wanted to land? Dutton Ranch. So we got on a plane. We flew to California. We met with the Duttons. We met with Al, who ran the ranch for many years. And we told him what our game plan was. We told him how we like to win. We told him we wanted to create something great. And we were basically begging and pleading to somehow get some sort of sourcing and juice and some grapes and the whole thing. And God bless the Duttons. They believed in us, and we struck a partnership up with them. And it's been a glorious partnership that gave us tremendous credibility when you have the Dutton name involved in any project you're doing, and you create the same kind of passion and love and interest for wine that they have for so many years, going back to the late 60s. We've done some really good things. We were able to kind of beg our way onto the property and be, one of maybe at the time 14 or 15 brands that were sourcing there, brands like Kistler and Batson Hall and some really great legendary names. And now here we are a decade later, and I believe, if my facts are accurate, where they're now their number one partner in terms of sourcing at Dutton Ranch. And we've taken the Dutton Ranch Chardonnay, which we're drinking here tonight, and it's twice been named top 100 wines in the world.
That's fantastic. Yeah, Tracy, is that number one sourcing?
It is one of the main brands that we sell the grapes to, and we sure do enjoy the partnership with the calling and growing the grapes and visiting and helping them grow their brand.
Yeah. So Tracy, maybe kind of come in for that, because we've talked, or Jim has kind of set you up for that. Is you have the vineyards are such a big part of the calling at Dutton Ranch, and you're some of the most respected vineyards in Sonoma. So tell us a little bit about the Dutton history and why that's such a perfect fit.
Well, Dutton Ranch started growing wine grapes in 1964, and the Duttons actually have been farming here in Sonoma County for 6 generations. Actually, my children are the 6th generation. And so in 1964, my father-in-law and mother-in-law, Warren and Gail Dutton, started growing the wine grapes, and in 1967 planted the first Chardonnay in the western part of the Russian River Valley. So the Russian River is one of the cooler regions of Sonoma County, and with its sandy loam soil and the microclimates from the coast, it makes it ideal growing conditions for Chardonnay and for Pinot Noir.
Fantastic. And James, you also have very deep roots in Sonoma. Bit of a Chardonnay and Pinot Noir whisperer, if I could say so, making these varietals for over 20 years. So what drew you to this project, partner with this project?
Well, echo exactly what Jim said as far as creating a team that, wants to make the very best. I'm wired the exact same way. I am, I'm not going to make anything less than perfect, perfectionist in winemaking, and just naturally wired that way. So when I was approached to be the winemaker for this brand, I was, the team that was assembled and the opportunity to make Dutton Ranch Chardonnay, which I had been involved with previously as well, and knew them and knew Al and knew the Duttons, and all these vineyards are in my backyard. So I get to, I've been driving these for 25 years, and I know the microclimates and the vineyards, and it was a natural fit. It was not just that the brand was, setting the bar very high as far as quality and everything else, but it was also the team that was involved, and it was an opportunity to, make the best wines.
That's fantastic. And so I do want to say, though, that the label does not say winning or perfection. So Jim, tell us a little about how the calling came about for this brand.
Well, again, you start from scratch, and this becomes such a passion project. I mean, everything was so thought through over and over again, and just hitting on the name, it had a lot of different meanings. I want to say this first off, because sometimes we get lumped into the celebrity wine category, which is not something I'm a fan of or anything I want the brand to be known for at all. I think I made that clear in my earlier statement. So like the idea that we were going to put my name or something that has to do with me on the label, I wanted anything but that. I wanted to win. And by and large, if you put your name on a label and you're known for something other than growing grapes and producing great wine, you're playing from behind. That's one of the failings I think that a lot of the golf community has made. The great majority, other than one or two maybe, have always felt like that they needed to put their name on the label. And it doesn't matter how great or legendary your career is, it doesn't give what's inside the bottle the credibility perhaps it deserves. It perhaps takes away from it a little bit. But we felt like Peter has an amazing relationship with his dad, who is a wonderful man, Bill Deutsch, who started the family business. They're 40 years strong now. It's pretty amazing. And my dad passed away just a couple of years before I struck this partnership and friendship, deep friendship with Peter. And my dad was my hero and everything. And I wanted to do something to honor him. We felt like, in the end, the two of us felt like we had a calling, if you will. I might be calling the Masters, or this coming month, calling the NCAA basketball tournament. And some people try to play on that. This is more of a spiritual kind of vibe about trying to get the consumer to unlock their calling, to pursue their interest, no matter how big the dream is or how far-fetched or how many doubters there are out there to tell you can't do something. You got to follow that instinct, that goal, that calling. And that's the root of it. That's the foundation of it, is we found this to be our calling, to do something that our fathers would be proud of. And, I hate to use sports metaphors, but I'm going to here, because I know not everyone on here is a sports fanatic. But if I was to build an NFL franchise and I had free agency and I could go out and hire the people that I needed to assemble to have the best team, the players in a weird way might be the grapes. They're the ones that are performing. Okay. We went out and got Dutton Ranch as our foundation for starters. I mean, doesn't get any better than that. That's an all-star assemblage. And then your winemaker is your quarterback. He's the guy that's going to manage it. It's going to make it go. So if you could go out and you could assemble the players, and we got Dutton Ranch, and you could go get a coach Initially, we had Dan Goldfield, late stages of Dan's career. Dutton Goldfield is a thing Tracy obviously knows a whole lot about. And Dan is a genius. But he was wanting to kind of, at the end of his career, he was looking to slow down a little bit. And he gave us a great boost at the start. But where do you go from Dan? I got to tell you how fortunate we are. I don't get to say this publicly very often, to have James McPhail. You heard it. He's a perfectionist. We got the greatest guy right now coaching our team. And I feel so lucky and so fortunate to have the Bill Belichick, the Mike Krzyzewski, whatever you want to call it. That's what he is. And when people know that James is behind this, they know the detail, the craftsmanship that goes into it.
Yeah.
And it's helping us find our calling. And everybody that every consumer out there that's drinking it knows it's special because of James and because of the Duttons.
And I am terrible at sports metaphors, but maybe if we talk about just how many awards he's or how many claims he's had for the past, I think 130 in some short amount of time, were all rated 90 points or higher, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Those are his touchdowns, right? No,
those are wins. Those are game wins.
Those are wins. Okay, because he's the coach. Got it. Okay, so he's the wins.
Yeah.
I said I was terrible at it. I'm sorry.
You're doing fine.
Okay, I'm doing fine. I'm a basketball girl. I'm a basketball girl. Sorry.
Well, he's like he's Mr. 90 point plus on everything.
There you go.
He really is. Mm-hmm.
Great. I want to start tasting the wines. We're gonna start with this gorgeous Chardonnay, and maybe Tracy, can you tell us a little bit about Chardonnay on Dutton Ranch, because this specific wine is Dutton Ranch Chardonnay. So these grapes are coming from your property, and tell us like how Chardonnay thrives where you are.
Well, this Chardonnay is sourced from 7 of our 7 vineyards within the Dutton Ranch vineyard conglomeration, and directly behind me is east, and so there's 3 really, really nice vineyards that kind of give a good overall introduction of the Russian River Valley that's in this glass. And the Jewel Vineyard, which is to the east and a little bit south from me. And the Jewel Vineyard sits up on a hill. It's got beautiful sandy loam gold-rich soil, and it actually sits above the main Dutton Ranch headquarters. And then we've got the Mill Station Vineyard, which is one of the lower lying vineyards in the Russian River Valley, and where we have vineyards at Dutton Ranch. And it's the valley floor, and it's actually it is the coldest or coolest Chardonnay vineyard that we have. And then we have the Gale Ann's Vineyard, which is farther east and a little north of the Dutton Ranch headquarters. And it's in the warmer region of the Russian River Valley. So the cooler regions or the cooler vineyards kind of give it the minerality and some really good backbone and structure. And then the warmer vineyard location of the Gale Ann's is kind of gives it some of the tropical notes that this wine has.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm loving everything that I'm getting from this glass. And James, tell us how you take these wonderful grapes and work your magic to produce of this beauty. It's beauty of Chardonnay. I love Chardonnay.
You know, I love what I do, and this is something that is obviously from a winemaking standpoint, something that's a lot of fun to take these vineyards, like Tracy said, that are in different microclimates and different terroirs just slightly, and different microclimates and topography, and make this blend. And so to kind of go back to Jim's analogies and the analogies that we're kind of throwing around as far as not sports, but also a palette, think of a, kind of a blank slate, right? And then you get to have all these fantastic components, Jewel Vineyard, Gale Ann's, Mill Station, Sullivan, and you start to kind of put all those notes together. It's also a little bit like a musical symphony, and being able to
you're composing. You're my composer.
Exactly. Different instruments come into play, and those are kind of my analogies that I use when it comes to kind of putting everything together. But you start with, like Jim said, you start with great fruit, right? Any great winemaker is going to say, it starts in the vineyard, and it does, right? It's a lot easier to make great wine from great fruit than it is to make great wine from mediocre fruit, right? So you start with a great palate, you start with great fruit, and you just be able to get to, assemble those notes. I'm a very kind of a traditional winemaker as far as kind of old world protocols. So, to be able to make these wines in a very kind of labor intensive way is, I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. A lot of botnage, a lot of stirring of the lees to get that, kind of mid palate weight, great viscosity and texture to the wine. To be able to use, 100% French oak and about 30% new, gives it that, kiss of, nice oak, but not too much. So everything that we get to do is, we're making these wines in a very, very artisanal way, but also a very approachable, way for consumers to enjoy.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Tracy mentioned that things coming, the minerality that comes from one spot and the cooler climate, and then you have that tropical note. And then when you're talking about that stirring, I'm just getting that really wonderful texture.
All those notes kind of get,
all the cool notes. Well, I call Chardonnay sometimes like the chicken of the wine world, because it's that blank slate, and but it can be completely magical when you do all the right things to it. So and this is so. Jim, what do you love about the Chardonnay?
I love the fact that so many people that come up to me and say they're not a Chardonnay fan, say, but I love your Dutton Ranch Chardonnay. I mean, I've heard it since day one, and it just it's exploded for us, to be honest. It's I wish we could get more fruit, but we've pretty much maxed out, and I'm just really proud of it. It 2 years again got ranked top 100 in the world. In fact, 1 year it got ranked 10th. This is not just American wine. It's not brands, it's specific varietals. And for a startup to go rub shoulders with the big boys so soon, it was a great victory for us. So I'm more of a Pinot guy, and James is a what did you call him before? A whisperer. Yeah. He's a genius. I'm a guy that throws around superlatives and adjectives all the time, but he's really on it.
He's been called a Pinot master, not just by me.
Master. So, he's had so many niche McPhail Pinots and different blends through the years, and now to have him again managing and coaching our efforts, we're really, really fortunate. And Gwendolyn, our brand, again, it has had tremendous traction in all 50 states, and it's been a crazy year, as we all know. On-premise business is certainly not, what it used to be. It will come back one of these days, but the calling has found such a following all over the country. I have such great pride that when I go into a city on a given week, which is every week of my life, basically, and I can go into all the top restaurants in any given city, Pittsburgh, Phoenix, wherever it might be, Dallas. And I know there are, in some cases, dozens and dozens and dozens of restaurants that are carrying the calling as the popularity continues to soar and grow. And I get back to it all. Our real flagship of it all was this Dutton Ranch Chardonnay. This is, even though I kind of want to think of us as a Pinot and a Cab brand, and those are our three main baseline varietals, are Chard, Pinot, and Cab. It's the Chard that made people take notice of who we are. And the Dutton name behind it and the Dutton fruit was gigantic in that growth.
And since people aren't necessarily out, definitely not traveling nearly as much as you, and not at restaurants as much.
Nope.
So let's say we're at home, that means we can always get the Calling Chardonnay from Wine.com.
Absolutely.
Had to plug that. But then if you are at home getting the Calling and you don't have a chef, what would you recommend eating? Like, what would you pair this with? What kind of meals, snacks, occasions do you put the Chardonnay with?
You asking me?
Yeah. I guess you're on the road a lot. You're probably not.
I'm on the road, but we have protocols at CBS. I can't even leave my room, which,
okay. So what kind of room service do you get with your Chardonnay?
I am nothing but a room service. Somebody drops my dinner at the door. That's been my life.
I'm not looking for exact recipes. I'm thinking
you know what? I
like popcorn and champagne. I don't know.
I have the dexterity of this. It runs the gamut, but I'm primarily a seafood, a fish, and chicken guy. As life moves on, I'm less of a red meat guy. So this is my go-to, and I'm a big, probably eat way too much salmon. My mercury count probably is off the charts, but I probably eat salmon 3 or 4 times a week, and it's going to be.
And that's a Pinot and a Chardonnay match.
Yeah, it is.
You're like sitting there, you're balancing it all out. I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
James, what about you? What are some of your go-tos for your Chardonnay?
That's funny. So I'm the chef of the house, and so I love to cook. That's my come 5 o'clock when I'm done with the day. I'm in the kitchen, and I love to cook. But just to keep it, to keep your nightly meals, relatively, kind of easy and approachable without getting too carried away. I think some easy dishes that pair well with this, risotto, like a lemon risotto, seafood across the board. I like to do a kind of like a shrimp scampi every once in a while. Like Jim, salmon is in this house probably 3 nights a week as well. Living in Healdsburg, got a great market, great fish market, super easy. I think we've got coho here in town for like $14.99 a pound. It's crazy. So we're the abundance of fresh seafood and vegetables here in Sonoma County makes it easy to be able to assemble this stuff. But yeah, like light pastas, seafood, risotto, good with the Chardonnay.
Perfect. Tracy, what about you? Do you have any favorite Chardonnay pairings?
Well, I'll have to ditto that because salmon is absolutely wonderful with the Chardonnay. And being so close to the coast, the Sonoma coast, that Dungeness crab, fresh crab, is always wonderful with the Chardonnay. And I have to say that Chardonnay is one of the grapes that we grow quite a bit of, and it's our family go-to beverage. Just to sip the Chardonnay.
That's true. No, I do. I love Chardonnay with a good cheese plate. I love Chardonnay with if you're on the East Coast and don't happen to have access to this, especially if you're in the Southeast, I love Chardonnay with grouper. I'm from the Southeast, and grouper is like my favorite fish. So Chardonnay with that. So wonderful. Thank you. Delicious. It's such a good Chardonnay. I've always enjoyed this one. So we're going to move on to the Pinot Noir. Maybe Tracy, you can kind of touch a little bit on Pinot Noir, from Dutton Ranch. I know it's a blend of Dutton Ranch Pinot Noir with a little bit more from the Russian River Valley. So if you have kind of some just overall thoughts on Pinot Noir in the Russian River and how it grows there, that's also fantastic.
Yes. Well, the Russian River Valley is in the heart of Sonoma County, and when Pinot Noir started to flourish here and vineyards were planted in the mid to late 90s. And this is actually a premier growing region for Pinot Noir. And wineries from Napa, high-end wineries from Napa, are coming to the Russian River Valley to source their Pinot Noir. And it allows for, because of the coastal influence, we have the cool nights, and it allows for a nice long growing season. And Pinot Noir has thinner skinned grapes, and so it doesn't do too well in the heat. And again, that's another reason why it does so well here in the Russian River Valley. And again, the sandy loam, gold ridge soil really does make it a great place.
Perfect. And James, your Pinot master, you are a Pinot master. So tell us how you kind of walk us through tasting this wine and how you kind of gently coax the greatness out of these grapes.
So very, very similar to the Chardonnay concept as far as vineyards that are kind of in different areas of Russian River. I've always said that the best Pinots are layered, right? So when you drink Pinot Noir, one of my other kind of favorite sayings is that it should, pose more questions than answers, right? So when you drink a wine, it should touch all those nerves, stimulate the mind, make you think, and I find that you can achieve that by sourcing from different spots within the Russian River. So when Tracy says that Russian River is the premier spot for Pinot Noir, it absolutely is. Best spot in California, I feel. But there's also different areas of the Russian River. And so you can go to a little bit warmer area of the Russian River, a little cooler, kind of in the middle. And once you start to kind of, put those blends together of, the slightly different styles, going back to kind of the note concept, that's what it's all about. Absolutely love to make Pinot Noir that is just bright, fresh, fruit driven, the classic strawberry, cherry, driven wine that is, not make it, just make fun to drink, stimulate the things, like I said, stimulate the mind and touch those nerves and pairs well with food. And that's what we're striving for. And so it's kind of a combination of those things.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And Jim, a couple of things he was talking about, gathering all these different grapes from different vineyards. Kind of wanted to also get your thoughts on what you've seen, because you've been in the sports world for so long and seen so many people pursuing this passion of playing sports. And then you and others have a passion of making wine. What are some of the similarities you see in these goals?
Well, that's a fair question, because I think there's a lot in common, and I'm sure it transcends just, the sports world and the winemaking world. But I'm around people all the time that are achievers, that strive for greatness, and they know how to win, and they know how to figure out a way to win. And I'm addicted to that personality trait. That's totally the way I live my life. And, I was someone who had this idea when I was a kid that I was going to work one day for CBS Sports, because CBS broadcast the Masters tournament, and I liked the way CBS presented the NFL. And I've had 35 years to this point of living out that dream. It was, again, setting a goal, following a calling in life. And that's what I see in the people that I cover. I just broadcast the Super Bowl for the 8th time. As you all know, Tom Brady won that game. It was absolutely improbable, impossible to believe that Tom Brady could switch teams in a COVID year where he couldn't even identify his own teammates, much less practice with them or have preseason games, and could go to a new conference and could beat all. But he figured out a way to do it, because he had the talent, but he also had the passion, and he had the effort level, and had the mindset to figure it out. I think there are a lot of people that I see that are that way, whether it's a Tiger Woods in golf, or any number of other people that have starred at, say, the Masters tournament, which is upcoming for me. I mentioned Mike Krzyzewski earlier and made the comparison to my man James with great coaching, and I've been there for all 5 of Duke's national championships, and I know the way Mike, who is a big wine drinker, by the way, and has enjoyed the calling on a number of occasions. I know how he works, and he doesn't settle for anything less than winning. So that's what I see. I see the attention to detail. I just was grabbing a board over here to the side. This is a small thing, but when you prepare for a game, you read all week long, and you put a chart together, and you can't sit there on the air and read the chart. Your eyes can't leave the field. But during commercial breaks, you can look down and look at some of the things that you wrote down as little cues, reminders. Here's Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City against Buffalo in the AFC Championship. Kansas City on offense, Buffalo defense. There's Josh Allen from Fresno, California, which is south of Fresno, in Fireball, California, versus the Kansas City defense. This was the AFC Championship game about 5 weeks ago. It's just every week you sit, you read, you put together notes. You try to make sure that every single time you're live, you're giving it your best to be the best. And like James said, he won't settle for anything less. He's a perfectionist. Those of us who are perfectionists, there's a lot of that comes with that. There's a lot of weight that you put on your shoulders, self-inflicted, that comes with it. But you don't get to where you want to go unless that is the goal and mindset. You don't accidentally stumble into great things happening, great fortune happening in your life without you mentally putting everything in your powers behind it. And that's the way I'm wired. And I see that again in the greatest achievers in sports. If that answers your question, Gwen, I'm around people all the time who are about winning at the highest level. And when I got into this venture with Peter Deutsch over 10 years ago, this was all about winning for the right reason, to make our fathers proud. And what was that going? How are we going to measure that? How are we going to look up at that scoreboard and determine if that's a W for us?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for us, it really gets down to, I don't know how you measure it. We wanted it to be a multi-generational venture that we could pass along to our kids and to our kids' kids. I think we're well past that now. I think that there's no doubt that the calling has the kind of footing that it's going to be around for a long time. We realize when you build a brand in wine, it doesn't operate like that. It's not at warp speed, especially when you get into the premium category. It's slow and steady paces. And, I know we've done that, and I'm really proud of it. It's been born out of the right reasons to do it.
And the success, I feel like, is making you happy, which to me,
I'm having a ball.
Is success, and also making other people happy drinking it.
I'm meeting the greatest people. I really am. And the amount of feedback that I get away from the world of sports from people who are enjoying the calling makes me very, very happy. And to, again, be on the road and traveling, and to see us growing through great partnerships like with Wine.com. It's huge for us. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to me how many times in a week, much less a day, when I'm out on the road and able to mingle more than we are these current days, how many people come up and want to talk to me about the calling. I love the fact that a lot of people don't know that I'm involved in it, because what James has built, what the Duttons have given us an opportunity to put something that's in the bottle that people really like. And then they say, oh, gee, I didn't know that you were involved in that. And that's exactly the way I want it to succeed. And again, nothing but friends. I mean, I got a great partner who's a friend, and the people that are in the restaurant business and on the off-premise accounts and just the consumer, the feedback is constant and steady, and it's rewarding.
Yeah, you've got a good team.
It's all about that. It's like anything else. You don't go do it alone. And the greatest rewards in life are things that are shared experiences. And this is the ultimate way of building something through a shared experience. You don't do this alone. And
you said you are a Pinot Noir guy. So what do you love about this Pinot Noir? What do you drink it with other than salmon? Because obviously salmon's on your plate a lot.
No, I mean, again, I'm probably a little unconventional, but I don't always have the food dictate what I'm going to drink. I think it really doesn't. But this is such a strong suit for James and his skill level. I mean, he can make magic out of anything. But if you look at his pedigree and history, it's pretty amazing what he's done in the Pinot realm, in that space. This was the last piece of the puzzle for us when we started the calling. We initially were strictly a Chardonnay and a Cabernet brand with a red blend, which we still produce, called our Tribute. It's an upper tier platinum level, we call it. It's a small production. You guys have it, Wine.com, and our Tribute, again, is another ode to our fathers. But I have turned into a massive Pinot Noir fan, and I give James a big nod for that.
Thank you, James. This is fantastic. And I've had the calling over the past 10 years, kind of on and off, not every vintage, but I love this Pinot Noir so very much. So thank you for your mastery on it. Jim, what's next? Either wine world, sports world? You said masters are coming up. What else?
Well, we just finished a very busy stretch over in my broadcasting world, which I do love. We just finished a 24-week run of 24 consecutive weeks on the road, broadcasting, whether it be the Masters, which had a November fall date because of COVID. It got moved from its traditional April place on the calendar. We had the Super Bowl, which we broadcast every 3 years by the AFC playoffs. And we just
and now it's March. So
now it's March. There's this little thing called March Madness you may have heard of. You see, I think I've got my new mask here.
I don't have any like, stake in the game at all, but I'm just curious your thoughts.
No, not did you go to Charlottesville?
Yeah, I did. I went to Charlottesville.
So I
called Tony Bennett
championship. Here's my mask.
2 years running because they couldn't do anything about it yesterday.
Can you see that right there?
Oh, I love that.
And all. So it's all about March Madness coming up. I'll be in Indianapolis.
Fantastic.
The entire tournament's going to take place in Indy.
I might have to put this back on.
There we'll go to. You guys are still the defending national champions.
I know. We made it for 2 years because they couldn't do anything last year.
So I loved your team. I love your coach.
I love my coach too.
Coach Bennett's an amazing man, amazing person. And I was there the year before when they were stunned in the first round. It's an odd Cinderella story, but it was a Cinderella story. Yeah.
The only team that's done that.
I kind of remember what I said at the end of the game when they beat Texas Tech in overtime, but they had all these miraculous finishes. Yeah. And then they won in Minneapolis to take the championship. Right. It was one of the great. I'm in the storytelling business, and whether it's covering a team like your team or it's the storytelling business of wine. Wine is about storytelling.
Wine is all about stories.
It's about storytelling. So
good for you. I was a history major in Charlottesville, and to me, wine just became this amazing way to talk about history and
well, UVA is a great school, and they're going to be. They can make another run. Don't sell them short. They'll be a 4 or 5 seed in the tournament, so I'll be there I'll be thinking of you when I'm calling their games come March. Okay.
Appreciate that. No, just kidding. But so lots of great things coming up. We look forward to when people are able to travel and see all those games in person. We're looking forward to many more vintages of these incredible wines. So Tracy and James, you're the team magic here behind everything. And, obviously a storied reputation with your vineyard and mastery of making wine, James. So I'm grateful that you both could join us and be here to talk about these wines and tell these stories. And Jim, thank you so much for your time as well, and for putting your winning effort behind these wines. So
it's all about having fun, and this was fun. I loved being able to share the night with Tracy and James, and I want to thank Wine.com for their support of the calling. It's very valued by us and everyone that's got a stake in this endeavor of creating the next great American wine brand called The Calling. We're grateful, and you guys are an important part of it. So thank you, folks. Enjoy it, and cheers, and drink to your good health and much happiness. And I hope you enjoy The Calling.
Thanks, Jim.
Cheers.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Tracy.
Cheers.
Thank you, Gwendolyn. Thank you.
It's both a science and a form of high art. It's made from the combination of grapes, sunlight, rain, soil, and time. It's raised up in the moments that matter. It's wine. And we are Wine.com. We have the largest wine selection in the world, online sommeliers with free advice, and now our powerful new app puts the entire world of wine in your hands. Wine.com. Seriously passionate about wine. Download our free app today.